guest represents a unique intersection of music, creativity, craftsmanship, and leadership. Michael Ciravolo is the president of Schecter Guitar Research, one of the world's most recognized guitar companies, but his story begins as a musician. Throughout his career, Michael has experienced the music industry from multiple perspectives as a guitarist, songwriter, producer, executive, and advocate for artists and instruments that inspire creativity. Beyond his work with Schecter, Michael is also the founder of Beauty and Chaos, a creative musical project built around collaboration, songwriting, and bringing together artists from different backgrounds. Today, we're going beyond guitars and gear to discuss creativity, the relationship between musicians and their instruments, songwriting, collaboration, entrepreneurship, and the philosophy behind building tools that help artists find their voice. Michael, welcome to Mind Behind the Music.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to chatting with you, my friend.
Before Schecter, before the business side of the industry, you were a musician. Where did your relationship with music begin, and what first made you become a guitarist?
Wow, that went back to probably I was 14, 13 years old, watching in my parents' kitchen. We used to have a little TV in there and watching Midnight Special and Dodd Kirsh's rock concert, and then seeing T-Rex, seeing Marc Bolan. For me, it was kind of the glam stuff. It was Alice Cooper. It was seeing David Bowie, always loved Mick Ronson, seeing the New York Dolls and Johnny Thunders. Like, those were the guys that were a little bit more sloppy and had a bit of a image and swagger. And I always migrated towards that more so than the virtuoso stuff. It was like, wow, if he can do it, I could do it. Up until that point, I was, wanted to be a football player, but I didn't grow to 6'2" and run a 4.3 40. And out the gate, I realized that girls seem to like musicians more than jocks. So it was a natural progression. And anybody who doesn't cop to that was not their first reason is lying.
They're full of shit, because that was definitely one of my reasons too. So you gravitated toward music.
Worked. Was cutting grass, saved up money, bought a really shitty guitar. Never really did a lot of cover songs, kind of maybe more for the fact of not having real ear training, just went picking up, learning bar chords and started writing songs and, playing. Growing up in New Orleans, a very musical city, but my parents weren't really into music. So it was like just me and a couple of friends. And it just seems like I never looked back from there. I ended up playing in bands, even being underage, and then always was into kind of changing stuff around in guitars and always trying, here's a new hot. I remember seeing the DiMarzio ad in a guitar player magazine or Guitar World, and had to do that. And then got a job at a music store, and I started seeing things from that side. I mean, I didn't go into it like, I want to run a music store. It just happened. We moved to California. I got a job at a music store on Sunset Boulevard called Sunset Custom that happened to, unbeknownst to me, was owned by Mr. Hisataki Shibuya, who recently passed away, but he owned Schecter, the name Schecter. He owned ESP Guitars, and he owned the Musicians Institute. And for some reason, the guy just kind of gave me the reins. It was being the right place, the right time, and God bless Mr. Shibuya had faith in me. Always thought I was the crazy long-haired guy, but he gave me kind of the keys to try to restart Schecter, and awesome. Never forget him for that. Still at that point in the 90s, you start realizing it was Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. The grunge thing started to hit, so it was kind of uncool to be a technical guitar player. So I always thought it was strange that at that point he was looking to buy this school, but it was his dream. Well, the great thing about Mr. Shibuya is that he didn't hover over me. He did actually realize that he kind of modeled ESP in the beginning after Schecter, because Schecter was making all those replacement parts, and that was my first in New Orleans. I remember Schecter replacement parts and getting a new bridge and the tuners and everything was brass. So he was kind of modeling ESP after that. And Schecter got pretty popular before he owned it and then just kind of crashed. So he kind of bought the name and in a way rescued it, but kind of gave me the reins to try to revise it. And at that time, I knew that Schecter couldn't just live off of replacement parts or doing expensive Fender style guitars. So he kind of let me run with it, and we kind of was able to hit a bit of a, I say younger, but more of the MTV audience.
Yeah.
Like, we were doing guitars and basses for Sean and Jay of White Zombie, for Robert from Stone Temple Pilots. Once we did something for Papa Roach with Jerry Horton, it was kind of a rocket ride with that. So I couldn't have done it if I would have had somebody questioning everything. And I was able to assemble a good staff of people around us, and we had the ability to take chances. I think that's what separates Schecter from maybe some other brands. Like, I don't think that we're stuck in any kind of lane here. I mean, I'm in one of our little showrooms, and I mean, there's such a variety of guitars here. I always had this idea that if this was a music store, we could probably appease 90% of the people that walk through the door.
Yeah.
I mean, we go from 12-string electric to a 9-string extended scale guitar to a hollow body to a 6-string bass. I mean, there is a wide swath that we cover, where some of our competitors, and it's not a knock, I grew up loving BC Rich guitars and Hamer and Jackson, but they kind of have to, they do their thing. And when they branch out of that thing, it gets a little like, what the fuck are they doing? We've never had, for good or bad, we've never had those kind of blinders that we had to stay in a certain lane. And that's really what keeps this job interesting, that we can try anything and not having to answer to anyone. We can try something, and if it's like, that was a fucking stupid mistake, we can get out of it quick. I don't have to sit and ask permission or wait for anything, or so we can zip in, zip out.
I'm definitely pleased with Schecter, especially because you guys are one of the only companies that really focus on the left-handed, guitars, which there's quite a variety that you offer.
Yeah, I think when we have a conversation, we're bringing something to the market. I mean, one of the guys, Colin, who helps me with design and everything, is a lefty, and our sales guys which we're going to do a lefty, right? And if we do a guitar in 3 colors, we'll usually pick one, like the obvious. Usually, it used to be available just in black.
Yeah.
But at least we did it. I think at one point we had over 60 models that were left-handed, and I don't think they should be discriminated against. So like you having to learn flipping the guitar over.
That's why I play upside down, because there wasn't like a left-handed guitar that was available to me at the time. For like the first 2 years of playing like that, I was like, nobody ever told me that I was doing anything wrong.
Yeah, that doesn't compute to my brain and my hands, like how you're doing that. But
there's not much that I'm limited to doing other than classical guitar, because of the specific fingers that you have to use,
Yeah.
But I did take classical guitar, and that was a challenge.
That's one area we haven't jumped in, but we do it. Yeah, we just don't do anything nylon, but we do acoustics. We do, like I said, we do everything up to Doug Pinnick's 12-string bass, and I've always loved electric 12-string guitars, so we do several of those. We also do based on like the old Fender Bass 6 model, that because we have been for almost 20 years with The Cure, and Robert and Simon both have made lots of their songs feature a Bass 6, so we do 4 different models like that. I think I'm determined that we never lose those oddities. We do a lot of guitar with the Staniac in it. I mean, I was always a big fan of using an Evo in the studio, and the Staniac is kind of like having 6 of them completely across all the strings can vibrate, so you can move chords and everything. So we do a lot of things. And again, that goes back to us having the freedom. Like the parent company doesn't go, well, if you're going to do that, or you're going to sell at least 1,000. I go, no, we may sell 100, we may sell 50, but I don't have to answer that. So we can try these kind of different things that I think keep the brand interesting, and certainly keep my interest in doing this after almost 30 years.
Do you think being a musician yourself changed the way you approach leadership and decision making at Schecter?
It's got its pros and cons, but I think the pros far outweigh it. I mean, I certainly did not graduate from business school. I jumped right into being in a band. I was plenty of times on the other side of a counter looking at guitars and pedals and this, and asking somebody for an opinion. I mean, I grew up when everything wasn't readily available. You couldn't just Google, "Hey Siri, tell me about," and that. You had to kind of dig and find out. I certainly, leaned on people in music stores, and you had the guys that were in a band that couldn't be bothered with the kid that's in there asking the questions. And you had the people that actually, hey, yeah, that would actually sit down and explain stuff. I always thought that was the best way, not to forget. Anytime I start going, this is a business, I step back to being the kid on the other side of the counter. And that usually guides you in the right way. Our bands have stayed with us a long time. I mean, Papa Roach has been with us. We have 90, right when with Incest came out. So 25 years or something. The great thing is that a majority of them stay with us throughout their career. The Cure are playing a massive European festival tour, and we've been working with Robert and Simon and the other guitar players that have been in and out for 21 years now. There are the guys, that will jump company to company to company, and we've never really jibed with the people that are just going, well, this guy says he's going to give me this. It's got to be more about the relationship and taking care of people. We have bands that were popular during the big MTV heyday, Edema, Power Man 5000.
Yep.
And those guys are still on our roster. They're family. They, just because they went from being MTV darlings to now playing 1,000-seaters, we treat them the same. They're family when they walk in. And I think it's that kind of stuff that keep the relationship, is that what I like to think separates us, and the way I'd want to be treated. If I was in a band and was looking for an endorsement or a company to partner with, I think, we follow that, and that's what counts. I don't lose fact that I'm blessed that this job kind of fell in my lap. This is a full-time job, and I have a family and a wife and 2 daughters. They're grown, but my 2 daughters are my life. And we have 2 dogs that I love. And I love Beauty and Chaos, where you mentioned that is a project that I do that's in a studio, and we're just yesterday sent off our 5th studio album to be mastered. So I keep busy. I think that doing Beauty and Chaos has been a godsend for Schecter, the way I approach Schecter, because I think when you lose perspective on why you're making a certain style guitar or what that guitar can do, I think it becomes just a widget. Like, let's do that. It's got a cool name. We'll call it Hellraiser, and we'll sell 1 million. I'd like to go further with it and go, hey, we should do a guitar. We should do this, and we should put the sustainer in it, but put a Bigsby on it, and this pickup in the middle, because you can do out of phase and really weird. So it's that. So getting to use what we make is, I think, important to me. When I come in, I'm more excited about the idea of these guitars, other than just that they can sell. When it becomes a widget, that's going down a bad path. Then you kind of, the passion is gone. It's just a means to the end, or a means to pay your bills.
It's like
And
getting, it's like an artist getting burnt out, on music, and then you're just doing it to.
yeah, you just kind of rinse and repeat. And I can't say I haven't got to that point a couple of
I
times,
think everybody does
and
at some point.
I think that's when started the idea of doing Beauty and Chaos. And I did bring in some Schecter artists, people that I knew through that to make this whole thing. And I really thought it would be one record. And now, like I said, it's on 5, but it kind of really reinvigorated my love of guitar, my love of effects pedals, just the idea of making music. And I think if you're an artist, you relate to artists on the same thing. All I look at guys that are famous is they got a break. I mean, there's a billion talented people out there. You know, you get a break and it's what you do with that break. But it's not like, oh, this guy's a rock star. It's like, oh, different than you and me is that somebody heard you got put in this band. Not saying that they don't work hard. But there is a level of getting an opportunity. There's luck involved in Schecter. I sit there, it's like, how do you know that this was going to do it? In my head, I'm going, actually, we took a chance, and it was total luck that I landed into this job. So, or divine intervention. I like to think the Lord above had something to do with it, but so I think that's, and it's not just me. Everybody here, came in as a musician. There's roadie, there's guys that are techs, there's guys that have come from schools that built guitars. I think you have to love what you do to do it with some type of passion, or it's just, okay, where's my check? I put my 40 hours in, give me my paycheck. I think people see through the bullshit. If I just came on here and I baffled you and I had a leather jacket on that said Hard Rock Cafe or rock and roll, and I had a nose piercing, and because my kid told me that would be cool, that's the image of a middle-aged or older rock star. I think people see through that, So, but I mean, what works for me doesn't work for anybody, but what we collectively here at Schecter has worked for us. And I can't say enough that it goes back to Mr. Shibuya just giving us that freedom.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he gave me the keys to the car. The car was a pretty beat up, Ford Pinto when I got handed the keys, but we did get the keys. And as it grew and got to be, now it's a Ferrari, he didn't take the keys back. He just went, do what you guys do.
Schecter's become one of the most recognizable guitar companies in the world, especially among players looking for instruments that combine modern innovation with professional level performance. What do you think that allows Schecter to maintain such a strong identity in a constantly changing guitar market?
It's the care. You could start a guitar company tomorrow and get 100 guitars show up in a brown box. And if you sit there and just go, oh, that's great, they're here, take somebody's money and send it out the door, it's not going to be, it's what you do after. I mean, most companies can design a really good guitar. You have a guy that can do the CAD package. There's this with this. We want this color. Here's the Pantone. For Schecter, it was always the setup staff and what they would do. It was never, a lot of companies do QC, which is you plug the guitar in, it works, strums, tuners feel okay, the volume controls are done, you ship it. Some companies only do that if a box comes in, there's 6 of them, they will do that to 1 and presume that the other 5 are good. Yeah. We were and still are a model of inefficiency when it comes to that. We will take a guitar, one of our entry-level guitars, a C1 standard or something like that, and spend 30 minutes on the setup, fret dressing it and things like that. And I've had people go, you're absolutely insane. That's the worst place to spend your labor time. And in my head, I'm going, that's the best place. Yeah. You want, the guitar leaves us. And then unfortunately, it's at the mercy of the UPS or the FedEx driver. It could go from here to the East Coast, and it's 105 here today. and then go to the East Coast and maybe 70. Stuff does happen, but we do our best for that guitar to leave here how everybody here would want to get it. Like, I don't think somebody should buy a guitar and then have to pay to have it set up.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing, that model of inefficiency that I don't think some of the bigger companies wanted to invest in. If you have a setup guy and he does 12 guitars a day versus a guy who's responsible to kick out 60, it's a big difference. As Schecter got back in the business, because as I had mentioned, Schecter had kind of crashed in the late 80s, you know, just like a lot of the guitar companies did. Kramer, Hamer, Dean, BC Rich, Schecter all had their day, and then everybody kind of got, those were great American guitar brands. And there's like, hey, we can have the guitars made offshore, and all those guitars, including Schecter, turned to shit. And Mr. Shibuya bought the brand name when Schecter was shit. And I've always looked at it as like, he said, treat it like it's your brand. And I took that to heart. I knew we couldn't crash a second time. You know, it's not like, hey, here's the second, third, fourth bailout. It was like Schecter, he bought it. Schecter had a chance to have a second life. We started getting those bands I'd mentioned: Stone Temple Pilots, White Zombie, Crazy Town, Edema, Papa Roach. And it kind of grew from there. It was like one band to another, to another, to another. And I saw it taking the upswing, and me and the entire staff here weren't going to let it crash again by going, hey, we're back. Now we can fuck everybody by just doing the same thing that made the car hit the wall the first time. So that's always been something that I think is always in the back of my mind. It crashed once. I don't know if a guitar company, I mean, see how many times they've tried to revive the Kramer name, or how many times they've tried to revive the Dan Electro name.
Isn't Kramer by Gibson now?
Yeah, when it was Kramer USA, when there were a lot of the heavy guy hitters were playing it, and then it crashed, and then maybe Gibson did it, and they were doing it as like a 199 guitar, and then somebody's like, oh, that's a cool name, we'll try to make it now an expensive guitar, so there's no direction. And I just wasn't going to do that with Schecter. You know, I owed Mr. Shibuya better than that.
Dude, for somebody that doesn't have a background in business, but your passion for music and your understanding of the music industry and being an artist yourself, those qualities, I believe, based on what you're telling me, are what has kept Schecter alive and innovative and appealing to an audience, people like myself.
I appreciate that. It's I think it's more important than the business degree. If I would have known more than that, or my vice president or some of the guys we brought in came with the degree, maybe that knowledge would have been helpful, or maybe it would have been a detriment. Us being musicians and kind of being a little naive and just going, there's a wall, we're going to run through it. I look back at those early years, and we were pretty crazy. I think that far outweighs some certificate on the wall behind me. So it was Mr. Shibuya's intuition of going, I think these guys have it, you know, that was really important. As long as I think we're giving somebody a fair guitar, I mean, a great guitar at a fair price, I'm happy. I can live with myself. I know stuff is going up, but what hasn't gone up? I mean, when you walk to the grocery store, you walk out with 2 bags and go, how is this $200? We may not be everybody's first or second guitar, but we kind of went at it going, let's try to be their third, fourth, and fifth. Like suddenly you go, wow, I always wanted to try a 7-string.
Yeah.
We make a really great 7-string. It's like, hey, we do these 2 songs that an electric 12-string would sound great on. Hey, we got that. You know, I'd like to do an 8-string bass. I'm learning cheap trick. Hey, we make an 8-string bass and we make a 12-string bass. So we were able to kind of fill in those things where to grow as someone's guitar arsenal grew, we filled in a lot of those kind of oddities. And we have loyal fans. I mean, the Hellraiser guitar has been in the line since, I'm probably going to be wrong, but I think '05. I mean, that's a long-standing guitar that we've done. It's become synonymous with hard rock, you know. In this business, I found sometimes you get a good name, and that's half the battle in it, you know. So we got Hellraiser, Demon, Damien, you know, Evil Twin. I mean, some of it's a little childish, and a lot of that when we came up, we were just kids. A lot of times it's the first thing we think about. That's it. That's what we call it. It starts as a joke and it sticks. And you got to keep a sense of humor and fun in the business, because it could get not fun, you know, when it's at the end of the month and it's like, is this shipment going to arrive on time? Is this hung up in customs? Did EMG send all the pickups to the factory? At the end of the day, we're selling guitars.
What I love is that you guys make good quality guitars at a reasonable price. Because I'm not the type of guy that can afford a $6,000 gift.
Yeah, that was what we went at in the beginning. We knew we had one shot, and we had some stuff going for us with Jerry. I mean, Jerry Horton kind of played that guitar in the Last Resort video that was getting 8-9 times a day on MTV. We had just finally cracked the Guitar Center nut to actually go into there, which some people's like, oh, you're dealing with Satan, but they're the biggest retail in the world. And, you know, they sell a lot of guitars, and it was necessary for us. And like all that stuff started rolling, and you just, when things start going right, you kind of take stock in what you did to get it there. And that's where the temptation to change. Oh, I know that guitar is doing good, but instead of Seymour Duncan pickups, let's just put garden variety pickups in it. Hey, instead of these tuners or tone pros, let's do this and just put our name on it. So there's that temptation comes in. Maybe here's the time that we lessen everything and kind of increase our pockets. And we just never did that. That's that thing of going, it crashed once, don't let it crash on your watch. Besides trying to do that, what we've talked about in the guitar thing, I try to do it here. I try to make it a good place for people to work. I want people here to play music. You know, they got to treat this as a job, but it's beneficial to the Schecter that they are musicians. So if somebody's like, hey man, we getting a chance to play this weekend show. My production guy, Colin, just is now the bass player in the Attics, who's one of Schecter's longtime artists. So he goes off for a couple of days at a time, but it's beneficial to the company that somebody's getting that experience, road testing our stuff. And so again, that trying to treat your employees the way you hope, and that I wasn't often treated that way.
Designing a guitar, there are so many factors involved, like the wood selection, construction, the pickups, electronics, ergonomics, and playability. Where does the process begin?
Since we started the Diamond series, I might get a cease and desist from Fender. A Strat and a Telly thing, which Schecter was known for. Marc Knopfler played a Schecter Strat. Pete Townsend played a Schecter Telly. But I broke us away from that. And I think once we started doing that, we started developing body styles. The Tempest, the Avenger, the Hellcat, the C1. I think we have about 10 or 12 Schecter body styles that becomes usually the building block. Unless we're bringing an artist in, we try to start within this mold of something that we kind of do. And then it's like, what do we, so I'm just talking about us developing a Schecter guitar, not Nick Johnson, Aaron Marshall, Sinister, any of those. We kind of go, who's the customer here? What are we trying to do? And what price point are we trying to be at? Once we know the audience and the player that guitar would attract, we'll look at things. We'll kick around colors. You know, sometimes if we're going to do a guitar, we'll try 6 or 8 finishes and
Yeah.
we'll get that in. I'm talking about the import Diamond Series guitar, which is still 90% of what we do, and we'll get those in, and usually out of that we'll have a couple of winners, and usually the audience will dictate if it's active pickups, passive pickups. I mean, we wind a lot of our own pickups here. That was originally in '76, Schecter Guitar Research, and David Schecter, who is the namesake of this thing, designed the first stacked pickup, the big whole pieces. I mean, we do signature pickups with Sinister Gates, Nick Johnson, John Brown, Michael Anthony. So we do our pickups. So once we have the audience in mind and the price point we want to do the guitar at, then we just the components kind of come. We'll take a shot, and usually we'll sit there and going, okay, so we have this guitar. It's in a 6-string and it's 25.5-inch scale. And I'm usually like, let's make sure we do a baritone. Let's do extended scale barrel. Let's do this 27-inch scale. And then we'll usually do a Floyd Rose with a Staniak. So usually the stuff we do will end up being a collection with 3 or 4 different models. I always get told by some of the staff here, we have too many models. As if you're looking around here, you can this.
Yeah, but that's a musician you like that for, right?
Yeah, I mean, it works for us. I think we have 14 different guitar cases, the mold that we have to make sure we have all those in. So all this fun in the sun comes with its own, own set of things that you have to watch out for. But I don't think I'd change anything. I love looking around. I love looking at some of the old stuff and go,
See
wow,
that
that's
President
funny.
guitar? You guys
Yeah,
too. That's sweet, dude.
who did that? He played that, not this particular one. This was just one that we made that never went to him, but he did it played that on the Super Bowl, which is still the greatest halftime show, never be duplicated.
Sweet.
Working with Prince led us to working with the guys in Morris Day and the Time. And I mean, it's a crazy, when you look down our artist roster, it's crazy. Like you would never think they would both be on the same team.
Now, speaking of the artists that you work with, Schecter works with many artists in different play styles and needs. Your roster is definitely diverse. How important is the artist feedback when developing this?
Usually an artist will start playing something that is stock that we make, just like they would go, hey, I play a Les Paul. Or if they're coming to us from another company, usually we go, well, why are you leaving that company? Because we usually won't even entertain somebody if they're leaving a company that it appears that they were treated well, like, oh, they just won't give me any more guitars, or I wanted a 5-neck guitar and they won't make it, or something that's just a little ridiculous. Because I figure if they're going to do that to that company, they'll probably do it to us too. I really wanted something that's doable difference, and then we'll sit down. So the feedback usually comes if we're doing a signature model on a guitar, and we'll sit with a couple of different things, and they'll bring in something, even if it's not a Schecter, and go, I've always liked the neck on this old Dean that I had from '80s, or I always like this Tysco, or anything they would bring. And that's if we're developing a true artist model.
Yeah,
But
like they say, wow. I noticed that the body shape is extremely unique. He
that's
created
Zach.
it, is that correct?
These are all Zach's ideas. Zach's become a really good friend, and I don't think I've ever met anybody at this point in their career that loves guitars the way he does, that loves his fans the way he does, and works as hard. I mean, that dude does Pantera, Black Label Society, Zach Sabbath. He'll do acoustic shows. He'll go play the Hendrix Experience. I mean, he probably plays 150 to 200 shows a year. and always in a good mood. But this is his guitar brand. He came to us, I guess, in the beginning. Gibson walked away because he wanted to do it as his own brand, and Gibson was just like, no, we're not going to yellow label you a guitar.
I remember that he was working with you guys, but then when I saw his own name on the
This is not Schecter. We build it for him in our factories, and we QC it, and we will sit with him and go and kind of pull out from Zach's mind, which goes 1,000 miles an hour. We'll try to facilitate exactly what he wants. And the guy plays the guitars on stage. And yeah, there's some bizarre ones. I mean, I think that's from Zach. That's pure Zach. And the guitars have a big neck. He's been a long time EMG player, so they have that. He's loyal to that. But yeah, those are all from the mind of Zach Wild.
When you're working with an artist, how involved do they get? Do they just say, "I want this," and you guys create whatever, or is it more involved than is that simply drawing out the body shape?
Well, that's two different ways of doing it. That's his brand. So he draws the shape. He has a graphic artist that'll sometimes get it in the ballpark, and then we kind of refine it to make it guitar like intonatable, and hey, that's the next, all those things. But that's all him. If it's us and you're talking about an artist coming to us, they're very involved.
Now, there's always been a balance between tradition and innovation, guitar building in general. How do you respect the history of the instrument while continuing to move it forward?
Schecter again comes from that. What's the proper way I'm supposed to say now? S style and T style guitars. That was only because those S style and T styles made by the company that starts with an F in the 70s were looked at as pure shit. Yeah. So people were replacing bodies, necks, this and that, and it just became, it made completed guitars because Schecter made every part to replace every bit of your Stratocaster. So stores were making them, and that's how that started. So there's that respect. I mean, you look at those custom builders, and guys do the craziest shit. And some of them are like, oh, holy fuck, that's beautiful. Sure as shit ain't gonna sell 1,000 of them, but it's really cool. So there is that balance. And I think guitar players, for the most part, everybody respects the tradition. Most guitars that are successful all are pretty similar, 30-40% different. There are guys that I'm just going to play something pointy. I'm going to play a Warlock, or I'm going to play, something else, or I'm going to play a Schecter E1 or something that's angular. But for the most part, guitars don't change that much. Mahogany, rosewood, ebony, maple. I mean, that's always going to be something. So respecting tradition, I mean, there's things that work, but the idea that somebody doing something similar is lessening the value of the other brand. I mean, imitation is a great form of flattery.
You guys run into the
trademark?
Yeah. Do you run into that with the shapes that you use, like the Gibson shape? How do you work around?
Yeah. You just change it a bit. There are things that are protected and not. I mean, everybody's like, oh, the Stratocaster body. In the mid-2000s, Fender lost that lawsuit. The body is generic. Most companies will trademark their headstock and trademark the name. And then sometimes it's not. It's like, oh, you can't trademark Hellraiser because some toy company or something, and you just do it. There's enough to go around in this business, and everybody takes little bits from everybody else.
What's that next on the agenda for Schecter as far as builds? I saw that you just came out with a 50th anniversary.
Yeah, Schecter started in '76, so this is Schecter's 50th year. So we did 50 custom shop models. Like we source crazy expensive quilt and flame maple and just made it that kind of 70s-esque Schecter super-esque guitar. And we did 50 of those. And something we do differently, we've done it for probably the past 3 years now, is we don't do the old school way of here we are, here's our new lineup. We kind of come out with models throughout the year. It's like we get something, we prototype it, we come in, we say, yes, we like it, we order it. When it's starting to come in, we put it up on the website. Here's this. So we could come out with 20 models throughout the year. So we've kind of flipped the script of how we debut guitars.
What's one of the best-selling models that you have today?
The Sinister Gate signature model continues to sell, which is a little rare for an artist model. That's our Avenger, which we've kind of morphed from an old 60s Teisco Spectrum 5. He took that body in a headstock that we did on our Scorpion guitar and kind of put it together, and kind of has his stripes that's become synonymous with him. The guy's a great player. Whether you love or not Avenged Sevenfold, there's no denying Brian's technicality and creativity.
Also worked with musicians.
Yeah, he did, I think, a year or two there, but he's a dude who practices a lot. And yeah, that's probably our biggest selling guitar.
Let's get into the beauty and chaos.
We have a studio here. I went into that with the idea of doing, for better or worse, a solo album. And not being a singer, it just went down this path of getting different singers. And our first record featured Robin Zander from Cheap Trick, Al Jorgensen from Ministry, a couple other big names. Michael Anthony sang backup with Robin Zander. Ice-T did a part. It was something I started for fun and something I wanted to prove to myself I could do it. And it just kind of took on a life of its own. I just dubbed myself the curator of it as I pull the pieces together. And I write the music with my partner in it, Michael Rosen, who I've known forever, and just different singers. And, most of them are in different parts of the world. So we'll do the music here, send the tracks to them, they'll sing, come back, mix it.
That's the beauty of technology these days.
Yeah, there's the beauty and there's the downside of technology. But my position at Schecter has certainly put me in the position to know some people. But also I know these people wouldn't be on a record if they thought it was shit. It's fun. And like I said earlier, it kind of makes me still love the guitar. It makes me think of stuff like, I wish I want to do this guitar that's tuned like a cello, or let's do this, or let's try that. Or, we do anything we can to pull sounds. We use very little keyboards. So it's the guitar with violin bow, the guitar with E-bow, the guitar with fucking drills with stuff spinning through. I have an insane amount of pedals, and we really manipulate the guitar into a lot of different textures, but it's a blast. Like I said, we're doing our 5th studio record, just went off the mastering yesterday. It'll come out September 28th. So in 8 years, we've done 5 albums, and that would be 4 remix albums. So
Go something right if you had 5 albums.
In a way, it probably helps level the playing field with artists where they can relate. When you're in the studio and you're this, it's like, yeah, I do know, because I was just in the studio to 2 a.m. last night. You use what you sell, but to each his own. I just have a unique situation and outlook on it. Not saying that you have to play. You can design something. Maybe somebody that designs a car doesn't drive. It's just more of a visual or something, or when you don't do something, you part of being good at being a leadership role is bringing in people that maybe do fill in the blanks of something you don't know about. That's what I think is unique here. We have, a lot of times I'll get the accolades. Oh, you're the president, blah, blah, blah. Man, I got a lot of good people that work here. At the end of the day, there is that buck stops here thing. And at some point if people are going back and forth, we should, and we should, sometimes I got to make the call and go, okay, great. I appreciate everything. We're going to do it, or we're not going to do it. But, we do listen.
Right into it. Rapid fire there. Favorite guitar you've ever played?
My 60 Les Paul special that's got a broken headstock and a broken neck.
And you
Just because I love Johnny Thunders.
haven't fixed it, even though you have all.
No, it's been repaired, but I mean, if it was mint, the guitar, it'd probably be worth 10 grand. It's something that's from my childhood. It's like, I love Johnny Thunders of the Dolls, and that was what he had. So I have a beat up one, which is great.
That's awesome, man. Favorite Schecter model?
Schecter Corsair.
Corsair, that's right. Favorite pickup combination?
I like clean humbuckers. I like our Route 57 two humbuckers, but tapping the pickups, because a majority of the gain I get is from a shit ton of different pedals. So yeah, the cleaner pickups going into pedals works for me.
Beautiful. Bridge or neck pickup?
For distorted bridge, for clean, a tap neck pickup.
Tube amps or digital modeling?
Tube.
Fully with you on that. Favorite guitarist?
Wow.
It's a hard one, right? So many.
It's a toss up. I'm gonna go with Mick Ronson.
And, favorite songwriter?
Toss up between Prince and David Bowie.
I love David Bowie. I saw him back in '94 with Adrian Belew on guitar. Favorite producer?
Tim Palmer and Michael Rosen from Beauty and Chaos. Tim Palmer. I mean, fuck, that's hard. I love Bob Ezrin's stuff also, but yeah, Tim Palmer.
Favorite album for production?
Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh yeah, good choice, man. And most underrated guitar player?
Most underrated. Robert Smith of The Cure.
And one piece of gear you couldn't live without?
Gear, not a guitar, an echo pedal. Which I have about 20 of them. It's not a crutch, but it's part of my sound. It's delay, reverb, just this kind of drenchy thing. I mean, I do love stuff like the original shoegaze stuff. Like, I think Kevin Shields from My Bloody Valentine is just brilliant. And I think the guys in Radiohead are really underrated for being, in the beginning, not very knowledgeable, but kind of squeezing stuff out of an instrument that's not supposed to be what it's supposed to do. I've always found that, because I've never been this natural. Like, I can't touch Mick Ronson. I can't touch their vibrato and just what they do. That's like a natural person. I struggle more, but sometimes that limitation is a good thing. It makes you work harder or do something interesting that somebody technically maybe wouldn't do.
Thank you so much. I know.
Oh, you're very welcome, man.